The wheels of society were never really fastened on properly to begin with, and that's why they've now completely come off. Unfortunately, due to my own personal quarrels with our government on a somewhat local level, I haven't been able to devote any time to creating any videos in response to the societal madness that is now unfolding at an ever quicker pace, and it is madness. And this orgy of madness simply cannot continue to go on while heedlessly oblivious to the obvious symptoms, and consequences will be grave if a concerted effort is not made to change course. If one were to actually chart the status of human ethics in relation to technology, the graph would be a gigantic X, illustrating a trajectory of technology soaring skyward and ethics plummeting at terminal velocity in a fiery blaze, to which, needless to say, no positive outcome can be forthcoming. With the arrival of Trudeau as the mascot for the new breed of dysfunctional liberals that seem to be on a 5-step program to madness, the overall circumstances have now broken new horizons in the frontiers of insanity. But the lack of seriousness in response to it all is quite spooky, because Justin Trudeau is not Superman. On the contrary, he belongs in a straitjacket. And I really think this is a very good opportunity for me to voice how disgusted I am in seeing how many Canadians still aren't taking this whole situation seriously, and seem to think this spectacle, with wax for brains, actually has credibility. It's quite vexing actually, especially when I'm out and about, because I notice quite frequently if I happen to pass any negative remarks about Trudeau, people usually divert the conversation to a tagline like,
"Just be glad you don't live in America where the orange Hitler is, blah blah blah, blah blah blah."
It's really quite disturbing how many ignoramuses there are out there. Meanwhile, our country is at the mercy of a bunch of people that, for the most part, have absolutely no idea what they're doing because they think politics requires nothing but glitter and rainbows. Not surprisingly, Trudeau is actually convinced of that. Let's just step back in time to a segment of an interview by Maclean's.
Good. So, this is we were trying to figure it out before, the number of pride parades that you've done. I think it was 3 as Prime Minister now?
Yeah, this will be my 3rd. Yeah, this is the 3 big ones.
Beyond Pride, you do a fair bit of this kind of thing, bain de foule, going out in the public and that sort of thing. What need are you fulfilling as PM when you appear in public so much often like this?
It's just to connect with people, to get a sense of what matters to them, have contact and connection with people. I mean, that's quite frankly one of the things that democracy is evolving into, is a space where...
A space where democracy is evolving into? Can you believe the shit this guy says? I guess this is where that rethinking of elements such as time and space comes in. This kook thinks that concepts are completely interchangeable on a whim, and inasmuch as I would much prefer that we had a Republican model of government, you can't morph the concept of our democracy into a fucking pride parade. I can't believe an interviewer would not retaliate towards such a stupid statement.
One of the things that democracy is evolving into is a space where people aren't happy with leaders that they consider overly remote. I think the social media age means that people are used to feeling connected, and they want to see their leaders out and articulating the values that they stand for. When I show up at a pride parade or at a multicultural park celebration or whatever, or a historical, these are articulations of things that are values that we all share.
I'll tell you what, little potato head, if you want to talk about evolving our democracy, that would start by bringing some truth into its halls, some honesty, some principles, some dignity. Or how about that word values that you love so much? A favorite among so many people, yet so many don't really have a solid representation of it. That's why they usually plug a word in front of it like Canadian values or Christian values, with such words upheld as some kind of unspoken agreement that they are unequivocally anchored to good. But it's more or less a decoy to avoid providing any explicit explanation. But please spare me the tripe that the concept of democracy needs to be evolved without ever looking at the behavior of those that are claiming to be the custodians of it. You seem to think that people should just continue the behavioral patterns and, well, we'll just noodle around with some new twists on democracy. It's really sickening that you snakes address one another as honorable members. And it's worthy to add here that the identical scenario happens with the attacks on capitalism, where people blame the system for the decrepit behavior of people. And that's why we have the proliferation of the socialist/communist movement. They think Stalin or Mao just weren't doing it quite right. They'll get it right this time. Again, insanity. And if you think reading verbatim from a cheat sheet in question period like some delinquent with a slingshot tucked in his back pocket is another example of democracy evolving, then you're a lot dumber than anyone could have ever imagined. You're not even supposed to be using notes in that fashion in question period, you imbecile. I can understand a backbencher doing something like that, but oh wait, that's right, you are nothing but a backbencher. You just fluked your way to where you are now. It's really gross. But if you want to talk about evolution, I'll tell you what I have seen evolve. Bureaucrats used to stand on their soapboxes and tell lies that, well, from a certain perspective, didn't really result as lies until after the fact. But now, despite the advent of things like WikiLeaks or the Paradise Papers, we see how the bureaucrats know that the truth is out there available to the public, staring them in the face with the glow of a computer screen, and they will still stand at podiums and tell a pack of lies. It shows the true character of them. They just do not care.
First of all, let's recognize where we are. For 10 years, Stephen Harper has been nickel and diming our veterans, lacking the respect and the support that Canadians have earned through service to country, and that's something that we have to fix as a priority. The measures that we've announced today have an ongoing cost of about $300 million a year. This is about doing right by people who have offered everything in service of our country. We will have a fully costed platform out in the coming weeks. But the fact is, we have to recognize that Stephen Harper has put us into deficit right now. We will, as Liberal governments do, we will balance the budget, but how long that takes will depend on the size of the mess that Stephen Harper has left behind. What this country needs is a plan for growth, a plan to respect and support Canadians who need that support, and that is what we are focused on. We will balance the budget.
Prime Minister, Joshua Kane with the Globe and Mail. I do have a question for Mr. Morneau directly, if he'd be able to answer one. He is right
Yes,
there.
but you have to ask a question of me first, because you get a chance to talk to the Prime Minister.
One of the things that I've been very pleased with is that we have government by cabinet.
My questions are actually for Minister Morneau.
I'll take them.
Okay.
You got an opportunity to chat with the Prime Minister. I'm happy to be here.
We have government by cabinet.
Hey, guys. Hey, we have respect for journalists in this country. They ask tough questions and they're supposed to, okay?
Sorry. Go ahead, Omar.
Simple question. Will you or won't you let Bill Morneau go past $10 billion in deficit? Yes or no?
One of the things that I've been very pleased with is that we have government by cabinet.
Don't change the subject, just answer the fucking question.
That's disgusting. That's not the Canada we...
Just answer the fucking question.
New technology is always dazzling. But we don't want technology simply because it is dazzling. We want it because it makes me dazzling. Dazzling, spectacular, and breathtaking, and dazzling, and dazzling. Always dazzling. Let me tell you something. The one thing certain, simply put, I don't think that makes me utterly weak. And yes, a major pussy. Ce n'est pas une coïncidence. And mostly, I don't recognize reason. Frankly, I don't learn, and I don't get this. Let me tell you something. I will bring half-wit leadership. Real work is something I don't know, so I will not work. But we need me, dazzling me, because without me, see, technology would never have happened. Without me, because it improves me from everywhere. From the rooftops, when you think about it, the universe would never have happened. Without me, and yes, the world would never have happened. Without me, substitute reason with that and adapt. Because I'm the future of Canadian values, and I don't believe in reason. The future of Canadian values. Frankly, I'm a source of weakness. Let me tell you something. I'm dazzling. In fact, I'm profoundly dazzling. Dazzling. And yes, a great distraction from my major spectacular thinking disability. Substitute for reason, at least for me. My predecessor wanted you to know Canada for its resources. Well, I want you to know Canada for me, because just off the top, I'm an outstandingly unstable, half-wit, robotic, degenerate, sacrificing Canadian citizens. Because ISIS isn't just sound social policy, ISIS is me. I believe Canada needs mass prosperity, focused on me, to sustain me. I want power, of course. Power. Just look at me. I take advantage of it. Power. And pussy power. I take full advantage of major silicon tit and pussy policies, policy. And yes, selfie everywhere. And shared and supported in order to help push my dynamic vision of me. Now, you know this. I take advantage of public pussy in heat. We know this in Canada. Each selfie with me is something spectacular and dazzling, always dazzling. When I welcome a shared selfie focused on me, it creates indispensable opportunities in the world, ensuring global societies recognize me. And yes, my power, my social selfie power isn't leadership, but makes me look greater to everyone.
For everyone.
Now, many of you people seeing me should be rewarded. Opportunities only to benefit me, riches. Everybody, everywhere, needs to serve me profoundly, fully private power between me. And we need intellectual, industrial, biotechnologies, engineering, experimentation focused on extending enormous government, willing to create mass anxiety, and mostly disenfranchised public population inequality. Of course. This election, this change is me, the country that has determined the future, or as a terminator. Of values, a terminator, of values, and economies, and mostly robotic, like me, election, like base, diversity, robotic, diversity, election, base, diversity, election, base, Syrian refugee, election, base, Syrian election, base, diversity, Syrian refugee crisis, is the engine of my election, base, invention.
The hypocrisy, the misogyny, completely irresponsible.